Coming up from Elizabethtown, Kentucky, we'll wind up the 2014 season. These are serious, highly modified tractors making serious horsepower. This is no child's play.
What is pulling? It's the only motorsport measured in inches. Pulling involves tractors and trucks hitched to a special sled with a moving weight box. The goal is to haul the sled as far as possible before the shifting weight pulls it to a stop. The longest pull wins.
Welcome once again, fans, to the Hardin County Fairgrounds in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. We're just south of Louisville. I'm Ted Jones, and we're going to be covering the final session of the Howes Loop Battle of the Bluegrass here on NBC Sports. Now, we've set a record tonight for the number of entries in tonight's featured class. With more on that, Tom McConnell.
Coming up next on the Howes Loop Battle of the Bluegrass Series, one of the most exciting classes, the light limited superstock. You see all kinds of makes and manufacturers, colors, a little bit of everything. But this tractor here, owned by the Pruitt team out of Shelbyville, Kentucky, it is a one of a kind. It's an Oliver, it's a Moline. Here was the deal. The White Company bought Oliver and Minneapolis Moline many years ago. They built the same tractor. Where there was a lot of Oliver dealers, they sold you the green version of this tractor. If you were in yellow country, they sold you the Minneapolis Moline. Well, when the Pruitts decided to pull one of these rides, the wife wanted the yellow Moline, the husband wanted the Oliver. They came up with one heck of a combination.
All right, thank you, Tom. Join me here in the booth if you would. Right now, we're going to see that very tractor start pulling in the light limited superstock category.
I'll tell you what, her husband just picked up his first Howes Loop Battle of the Bluegrass victory last week in Versailles, Kentucky, but Melissa having a rough ride. She's going to come up short.
There's a whole lot that goes on, and your mind has to work really quick to be able to correct it, and sometimes I don't do so good.
Boy, a lot that goes on. That's an understatement, I'll tell you. She had a wild ride. All right, coming up next, the Red Thunder. It's an international harvester tractor driven by Scott Fackler.
Scott Fackler has not picked up a Howes Loop victory since way back in 2007. But today, he takes over the lead.
I had to use the brakes a little bit, and I didn't like it, but that's the way it goes.
Now, using the brakes is to steer the tractor. These guys actually steer with brakes, right, Tom?
Well, they use the steering wheel when the front end's on the ground, Ted, but when the front end lifts up, the front wheels have no traction on the track. They've got to guide them with a lot of finesse on the brakes. Strong running forward here. Brian Bentley, though, shuts down. Wow. Gonna come up short, but a heck of a run.
Now everything's turning green. That's right, folks. John Deere fans, stand up and scream for the Kentucky Gambler.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kevin Shingleton on a wild ride. I'll tell you what, Ted. Close to hitting that out of bounds line. This is an aggressive track.
The track changes from tractor to tractor, from just hook after hook, and I didn't have the weight exactly right.
So up next will be the Express Binder. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Greg Jones.
Greg Jones is the second generation puller. His father, Gary, pulled a very strong Alki Burner International just like this many, many years ago. The son's taken on the shores of driving, and guess what? Still doesn't take over the lead. Scott Fackler holding on.
But only about 4 feet short. Now, why did he go straight and everybody else is all over the...
Ted, this is last year's winner, Adam Spiegelberg, driving 13 hours one way from Wisconsin to come down and do battle with the Kentucky boys. Real unique tractor, a white, and Ted, he's gonna come up short, shaking his head, not liking that.
Well, he had to hit the brakes because it started veering off, and that can kill the amount of distance that you pull. Well, here is Z-Ride White.
Oh yeah, Steve out of Wisconsin, and look at him, looking like he's at a rodeo, almost turns it over, Ted.
And he's disqualified because he crossed the out-of-bounds marker right there, the white chalk line that you see. But let's take another look at that. Talk about a bucking bronco.
Oh, Ted, that's what you get when your weight's not right and the track is really good. Tell me what that ride is like.
Actually, when you're in the seat and strapped in, you're not so nervous. It's more nervous when you're getting ready to go. It was I don't know. It looks a lot worse than it is, I think.
So with that, we'll take a break. Here's our How's Loop Battle of the Bluegrass leaderboard. Scott Fackler on top by about 4 feet. We'll be back with more after this. This coverage of the How's Loop Battle of the Bluegrass is being brought to you by How's Loop, professional grade performance since 1920, and by Belterra Casino Resort. Every day is a good day for an escape. And by Bubba Burger. You'll never bite a burger better than a Bubba. And by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology. Welcome back to Elizabethtown, Kentucky. We have a little controversy going on here today. With more on that, Stephen Cox.
Okay, Tim Fox is mounted up and ready to go, but I'm going to stop him for a second to talk about one of the most controversial guys in pulling, okay? You know his name, Mitchell Coomer. What do you think about him?
He's a wily, crafty old veteran of the dirt, man, as good as they get. You got to respect his wisdom of the sport.
I'm going to ask you the hard question now. Does he cheat?
If he does it real well, and that's what you're supposed to do. You don't get caught that way.
He's pretty slick. That's all I'm saying.
I won't say he'll break no rules, but he'll bend them just as far as they'll bend.
Can you really trust a guy, though, who hauls in a school bus?
Well, I get.
Well, I just don't spend much money on my hauler there. I spend it on my wife and try to spend a little on my tractor here so I can keep up with these boys at BOB. They're pretty tough.
Now, I've been asking a bunch of guys, does Mitchell cheat? Okay, now, what do you think their answer is?
Yes, they definitely think I cheat. Short hitch and overweight and that kind of stuff.
So do you?
No, I don't cheat, no.
Well, we'll find out a little later on. Here comes the Chicken Coop Special.
This is an interesting tractor, Ted. It's an old cockshut. It has been on pulling tracks in Michigan, where he's from, for the past 40 years, as we take a backseat view from on top of the weight box.
You can actually see the weight box pulling forward there. You were riding with it. You can see how the weight comes down on the rear hitch of the tractor. Now here comes Tim Hammonds. He calls his Ford the Unbridled.
One of the stoutest running diesels, and check out Tim battling the front end. Watch his legs move as he's trying to guide it. The diesel coming up short. It is an aggressive track out there tonight, Ted.
Now remember, the mark to beat, 276 feet, held by Scott Fackler. Here's David Burnett with an International Harvester.
Be curious to see how Burnett does on this track. He has taken some wild rides in the past, but not tonight, Ted. He's got it nice and smooth. He might even take over the lead.
Not quite. He's short there by just a few feet, 271.51. So we'll move on now to Brad Powell. He calls his International Cut Loose.
1206 Internationals are the hottest thing in the restoration market of classic tractors, but none of them made 1,500 horsepower out of the factory. Brad just picked up his first How's Loop victory earlier this year. Not going to repeat, though, at E-Town.
Our next puller is riding on a white, so obviously he called it Little White Lies. This is Tom Haynes.
Tom Haynes has run this tractor for the past 6 years, and it is a tough competitor. He's got it balanced right, but gonna shut down short, 270, not gonna get it done. Scott Fackler still holds on to the lead.
Well, here's the controversial guy, Mitchell Coomer, the old yeller that he hauls it in a yellow school bus. Boy, that looks like diesel smoke, but it's an alcohol tractor. What's going on, Tom?
He does not have his clutch adjusted right. Mitchell's been battling with that the past few weeks, and it's going to cost him on the far end there. The old yeller, and it's an International, by the way, doesn't have the paint done.
Stephen Cox is waiting for him.
If you're cheating, you're going to have to cheat better.
You got that right. I ain't cheating near enough. I can tell the way I'm running.
Here comes Ain't Misbehaving. This guy is tough, Philip Bewley.
Well, Philip Bewley, picked up his first Howes Lube victory about 3 years ago in Charlestown, Indiana, has rebuilt the tractor since and has been winless. He is from Elizabethtown, and Ted Good Deal Phil, the car salesman, takes over the lead.
And if you're going to point the finger at Mitchell, don't you think it's starting to point back at you?
No. Yeah, I didn't point my finger at Mitchell.
Well, he did something right indeed. As we go to break, we'll take a look. It's now a new leader, Philip Bewley. It's a sport of inches, folks. You're watching the Howes Lube Battle of the Bluegrass series. Welcome back to Elizabethtown. Let's check in with Tom McConnell, who has a special guest.
I have event promoter Tim Hornback here. Tim, tell us why this event is unique upon all the series.
Well, this is a third annual Burger King Breast Cancer Awareness Truck and Tractor Pull. 86% of what Susan G gets stays within a 16-county area of Kentucky, and the other percentage goes to research.
Well, it's nice to know we're at an event where everything's going to a great cause. Let's go check out the action.
Action indeed, Tom. We continue on with the light limited superstock category. This is David Holbrook in the Outrage Case International. These tractors must weigh 6,000 pounds and no more.
David Holbrook, one of the top pullers from the state of Tennessee. He actually promotes a big indoor winter pull in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, but all that pulling and promoting not going to help him.
There's a dip out there about half track. When I went off in it, I could feel it, and it went crazy. I mean, I missed my front end weight a little bit. It was a little light. Otherwise, you felt the rear end go off in that dip, and then the front end it went haywire.
Let's go to our next tractor right now called Family Driven. This is Jerry Sipes.
Jerry Sipes, by hooking to the sled tonight, he is now a 6-time Howes Lube Battle of the Bluegrass champion. Just lives in the next county down the road, would like to take home a victory tonight. He is going to come up short, but hey, he's a 6-time Howes Lube champion. He's got to be happy with that.
Well, we need to explain what that means, folks. What that means is they get points for hooking and attending every pull. He only needed enough points to show up and hook to the sled, regardless of how well he pulled. Here comes Colby Nicholson.
Got a diesel 190. Alice Chandler comes to us out of London, Kentucky. Gonna come up short. A new ride, though. Sure, he'll be running better next year. Check out this wild one. Coming all the way down from Wisconsin, Scott Spiegelberg with the Ratitude.
It's a Minneapolis Moline. Boy, what a nice paint job he's got on the side of that tractor.
Launching good, but Ted, he is getting wild right now, trying to keep it in bounds. He shut off the throttle, Ted, and when he did that, he lost the turbo boost. That was it. Let's check it out on the Howes Lube instant replay. Right there, up in the air. He backed off, was hoping to get back in the throttle, could not do it. He is done.
This tractor's got different tires, a little more aggressive. We questioned whether we should have adjusted it, put more in the front. We did not, and got out of control.
Well, his son Aaron getting ready to pull. It says 185 proof on the whiskey barrels. Whiskey's only supposed to be 90 proof, but it takes 185 proof to make alcohol to power this tractor. The Alice Chalmers out of Wisconsin, well, gonna come up short, Ted. Maybe not enough proof.
Backing up right now is Larry Anderson. He calls this the Grease Monkey, another international harvester.
Check out Anderson. If he can get that front end up and go straight, he ought to have the power to possibly take over the lead. Set there by Philip Bewley. You can hear the clanking of the sled, the chain, the box. Is it going to stop him? It stops him, and it stops him way short. The John Deere holds on to the lead, Ted.
Let's see if locomotion can change that. And Alice Chalmers, ladies and gentlemen, you got a good look right there at Ben Bowen.
Ben Bowen picked up his first Howes Lube victory last year in LaGrange, Kentucky. Has been winless ever since. Maybe tonight in E-Town he can get it done. He's looking at the Howes Lube lead distance marker, knowing he didn't pass it.
Close, though, 269 feet. Here comes the crypt keeper, Brian Mickelson. Now, there's got to be a story behind this.
Well, Ted, I'm not sure about the story, but I do know one thing. He was your winner here last night. Gonna try to see if the Wisconsin boys can beat the Kentucky boys, and whoa! Fire under the hood. Mickelson gonna come up short, not gonna repeat like he did last night.
What a beautiful tractor, and oh, there's the story connecting rod, folks. Stephen Cox has more.
You know, in this class, do you really have any choice at this competition level?
Not when you got 30 tractors in the class. You got to push them right to the limit.
So let's take a look as we go to break at the Howes Lube leaderboard. Philip Bewley still on top, 276.9. We'll be back after this. Our Howes Lube Battle Bluegrass coverage from Elizabethtown, Kentucky is being brought to you by Faygo Soda, the original party pop. And by Howes Lube, professional grade performance since 1920. And by Ripon Energy Fuel, a real great tasting energy drink for real people. And by Precision Turbo and Engine, the winning edge in boosted performance. Well, we'll wind it up, as you can see, very cold right here in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. But we'll finish out this class, 37 entries. That's a record, Tom McConnell.
I'll tell you what, this is truly a national event. And this guy right here would like to see a big orange diesel in the lead. Lindsey Moore laying down a good run with the old rags. Can he beat the John Deere? He is getting wild at the end, and Ted, not going to get it done.
Sometimes going straight has something to do with the tires. Here's Tom.
You know, everybody thinks in pulling it's all about the money the guys spend to make that horsepower in their engines. But what about the tires? They're expensive too. They're specially cut, specially designed for pulling, and Firestone's had a corner on this market, but now Bob Parks has entered the arena.
Yes, the demand is very great anymore. It's all of the United States and Europe and part of Australia. And we have our new pulling tire. We're still in the testing forms. We'll be ready to go into production as of January.
Do you still cut the tires, or do these come right out of the factory ready to pull?
Well, they come out of the factory probably 95% ready to pull.
And what is the cost on a new set of pulling tires, Bob?
The 24.5s, they're around $8,500, and the 30.5s, I think they're around $8,200.
And how many passes can a guy get on an $8,000 set of tires?
Normally, pulling tires will last quite a few years, so it's just a big amount of money outlay for the first year, and then after that, you know, it's just a recut every year, which they're going to spend $500 or $600 every year to maintain the tire.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot in tire technology, but the one thing is for certain, if you don't have the bite, you're not going to be a winner on the Howes Lube Battle of the Bluegrass Series.
Right you are, Tom McConnell. There's what they call the hook. That's actually the hook connected to the sled going on to the hitch of Ron Mitchell.
Ron comes out of Shelbyville, Indiana. New driver this year, first year out with this tractor. It's been turning some heads, and it's running good here tonight, Ted. Going to come up short, but a very respectable run, 265.46.
So let's go green again with John Deere. You know, in tractor pulling, just like in racing Ford versus Chevy, they get into it with John Deere versus International.
You got it, and of course in the light limited class, about every combination you can seize out here. Ethan laying down a good run. He picked up his first major victory in Owensboro, Kentucky this year. Not going to repeat here in E-Town, though.
And he called that tractor the Kentucky Sled Hunter, just like Floyd Shingleton here calls his Semper Fi. Bet he was a Marine.
You got it. You got it. Dedicates every run down the track to all the Marines. Floyd, though, a big sod farmer. Could have used a little more sod there. Going to come up short.
Just about to the end of the class, here's Kenny Powell out for revenge.
Well, Kenny Powell picked up his first Howes Loop victory this year. Can he close out the season to make it win number 2? The Ford fans are screaming, trying to beat the John Deere on top. No, Ted, another one not going to beat Philip Bewley.
Close, but no cigar, so we'll go under the influence right now. These are alcohol burners, thus the tie. Tim Fox calls his international under the influence.
Yeah, the moonshine still on the side gives it away, and whoa, might be some moonshine in there. Lots of sparks and fire coming out there. Fox taking a wild ride and just runs out of it there, looking down at debris maybe coming out. That's not a good sign.
No, the Howes Loop instant replay. Yeah, there you see it, all the sparks coming out as we slow it down.
We're pushing all the limits on these engines. They came out of the factory cranking about 110, 115 horsepower, and we're pushing them to about 2,000 now. So you're stretching parts pretty good. You're going to break some stuff.
One last chance to beat the mark, to be 276.90 feet, and that last chance will belong to Lawrence Phillips.
He is a diesel, and it is an international going against an alcohol John Deere that's in the lead. Lawrence Phillips picked up his first Howes Loop victory this year in Brandenburg. Not going to close out the season with a win, though. What did you do to deserve that, Phil?
I don't know. These are a bunch of guys. They've helped me get here. You know, I couldn't thank them enough anyway, so they can pour cold water on me.
Yeah, got water on our lids too, you guys. So here's the way they finished up for the season. Our champion, Jerry Sipes, as you can see, a very decisive victory right now. Our Belterra Casino best appearing ride belonged to Scott Spiegelberg and that Ratitude. Then our best engineered ride, the beautiful, the Crypt Keeper of Brian Mickelson. And our hot pull, who else? Steven Zintz, the Z-Ride White 125. That's what you call a very hot pull. From Elizabethtown, Kentucky, I'm Ted Jones for Tom McConnell. So long, everyone.